Welcome to 2 cents short of a dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz. I'm Rue, back at it again. And today, Ryan Garcia, he's been hot in the headlines, so kind of wanted to stick with that right there. Ryan Garcia, and what's next for him? So Mo, you can jump right in. What you think is next for Ryan Garcia after that loss?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure at this point. What I do believe is going to happen is Ryan may potentially leave Golden Boy, and I'll probably explain that in a moment. But in terms of what's next, he did mention he wants to move up to the 140-pound division, the junior welterweight division. There are some good fights to be made there. I'm not sure if he's just going to go in and take a tough fight, right? Let's say jump up and take a fight with Regis Prograis, right, or even Sabata, right, or Ramirez, right. I don't think he's going to take those type of fights. I think he's probably going to take a tune-up and then look to kind of challenge himself with one of those fights therefore after. So I think that's probably going to be the plan. But I think it first starts with what he's going to do with his team. Is he going to stay with the team, Golden Boy, or is he going to kind of move elsewhere? So I guess I would like to hear your thoughts on that. And also, do you think he may potentially leave Golden Boy? And I guess before you answer that second question, we can probably discuss the Oscar and Bernard situation.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I heard Ryan say he's going back to 140, which I think that's what he should do because before this fight, he was at 140 and he was pushing for this last fight to be at 140, right?
Right.
But going to 140, I would say don't jump straight into Prograis. Maybe not Josh Taylor. Of course, if Josh Taylor loses to Teofimo, that changes everything, right? But that's for later down the line. But I would say the name that you mentioned, Jose Ramirez, I think that's a pretty good fight because it's a credible enough win. And I think it's a person that he can actually win. So I wouldn't consider that a tune-up. I think it's a hard fight, but I do think it's a fight he can win. Jose Ramirez is going to be there to be hit. So it's a lot more likely for you to land that hook on Jose Ramirez. And that's a really respectable win going back to 140. So I think looking for somebody like that, or if Teofimo loses to Josh Taylor, then I would bait Teofimo into a fight. He seems to be spiraling down, but like I said, I'm not jumping into that yet. But I know Teofimo would say, he'll get hyped up. Oh, I'm a big name. He's a big name. And if Ryan could knock Teofimo off, then I think that's a good fight at 140. So I do think he should go back to 140, work his way up. Don't start at the bottom, kind of start right before the top and work his way from there. I think just, learn from this fight. I don't know if he's going to fight anybody as skilled as Tank, up at 140. But so just learn from your mistakes and move on. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I agree. So before you answer the second question, which is whether or not you think he will leave Golden Boy, let's discuss, the Oscar and Bernard situation where, Oscar and Bernard essentially, quote unquote, left him out to dry during a post-fight press conference. And Oscar came out with a video suggesting that, he received death threats. Well, he didn't suggest, he actually said it, that he received death threats. And Bernard, of course, had a situation after the weigh-in, where he couldn't attend. So I guess the general consensus from people who watch boxing and even the media, they're saying, Oscar essentially kind of left Ryan out there, especially after he lost, and now trying to pick up the pieces. And Ryan may have felt some type of way. So do you think Ryan will leave? Do you think this is going to kind of divide them? What are your thoughts?
So I don't really know his contractual situation. I think they'll make amends. But I do think this was some sucker shit. I don't think you do that to your boy after his first loss. You know what I'm saying? First loss for a lot of people could really wreck him, So I don't think you do that to your boy. And then I think what it shows me is, for all the people saying Oscar and Bernard didn't believe Ryan was going to win the fight, I think they actually believed that he was going to win the fight, but they're so embarrassed now that they can't even stand up and face the music that they were wrong. Because I do think they wholeheartedly believed it that much that now they're so embarrassed, because they look stupid, right? Because not only did he lose, he got stopped. You know what I'm saying? It's not even like you say, all right, you lost, but it was so close. He got stopped. So now I feel like they're too embarrassed, so they just tucked their tail and ran. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's whack. I don't think you do them like that. That's still one of your prize fighters. You know what I'm saying? Who's a bigger name under Golden Boy? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Canelo ain't there no more.
Yeah,
So
Ryan is their cash cow at
you
the
got to protect your asset. You know what I'm saying? Or just stand with him. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that was right. You know, and I know they're making some excuses. They didn't want to take away from the moment and all this, and I thought it was real whack on both of their part. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I definitely want to echo that. Saying I think it was whack. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I definitely think that was whack. But I initially thought, to kind of in contrast to what you were saying, I thought that Oscar, because Oscar's made mention of this in the past, where he wasn't confident that Ryan could beat Gervonta Tank Davis,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I felt as though, because he kind of was warning Ryan, but Ryan pushed for the fight and
Mm-hmm.
told Ryan, take a tune up. And Ryan was like, no, I'm not going to take a tune up. I think it was one of those situations where he felt like, well, because you wanted to go and take this fight, you wanted to go in there and not take a tune up. Now you want to go in there alone, and we supported you. Now you want to have to take that L alone. You get what I mean? I
Yeah.
felt like that also could have been, but you made a good point. It could have just been like an embarrassment moment for them, and Oscar didn't want to really deal with that situation.
Yeah.
So I can see that being a situation. So the next point I want to kind of get into is the pay-per-view numbers.
Yeah.
1.4 allegedly. It
Allegedly.
seems like that's something that's been circling around. Now let's entertain the idea that that is factual truth,
The
right?
consensus is it's at least 1 million. Seems to be the consensus.
Right. So the fact that they even reached 1 million during this day and age where pirating, illegal streaming is a huge thing. That's very impressive,
Yeah.
right? Especially because that means that if this is during Floyd's era, they would have did more numbers. This kind of blows the projections we gave previously, where we was kind of looking like between 400,000 to 600,000,
Yeah.
400 to 600,000. That shit blows it out the water. So
And
that's
I'm glad we were wrong. I'm glad we were wrong.
yeah. I'm actually happy we were wrong. And they mentioned that Gervonta Tank Davis is now the face of boxing. Do you believe that? Do you believe Gervonta is the face of boxing just based off of these pay-per-view numbers?
So I'm gonna actually say no. I'm gonna still say Canelo's the face of boxing, but I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because they said whoever wins this fight is the face of boxing, and they were going strictly off of the pay-per-view number sold. Both of these guys sold these pay-per-views. So if Ryan won, they would have said he's the face of boxing, you know what I'm saying, based on the numbers sold. So it's not just the winner who sold these numbers. They both collectively sold these pay-per-views, you know what I'm saying? Because Tank's highest pay-per-view before this, they said, was Rolly Romero, which is at about 275,000. So I don't think Ryan did 1.2 by himself or 1.125 by himself. You get what I'm saying? So it's a combination of both of them who
Right.
came together. And I think what it really shows is star power, star power. People want to see that. They don't want to see the A fighters just walking over C level fighters. I think that's what it really shows. And it's something that I always thought. I'm like, man, if you guys fight each other, you guys always talking about, oh, we got to make money, we got to make money. But the higher level of competition you fight, the more money you're gonna make, because the more people want to see that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm gonna still say Canelo, because I think Canelo is the guy. Less the heavyweight division. I think Canelo is the guy who can sell with anybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would consider him the face of boxing. I think him and Bivol did 500,000, and that was considered a failure pay-per-view wise. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And even prior to that, especially with Caleb playing, he did numbers,
800,000.
Right? 800,000. Even before that, he's did so his history and pay-per-view numbers seems to be consistently higher compared to Gervonta. Gervonta is a small sample size. You did a mill once, right? That might be an outlier experience, right? So we got to see a bit more from you to consider you to be the face of boxing, right? Because there's still an argument to be made. Let's say Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford does like 2 million. Then who's the face of boxing then, right? Because Errol Spence is doing like 300,000 pay-per-view sales, and so it's still debatable. It's not necessarily clear cut. And then you still got Tyson Fury, right?
Right. And then imagine but like I said, less the heavyweights, because the heavyweights, it seems to be a little bit different, because AJ does great, Fury does great, I think Wilder does great. So like if they put even right now, if they put Wilder and Joshua in there, that's gonna probably do 2 million off the bat. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's kind of why I defaulted to Canelo. But do you think Tank is the face of boxing, or if not, then who?
No, I agree with you. I don't think Tank is the face of boxing yet. I think that he needs to kind of replicate or at least get close. He don't have to do a million again, but at least get close, right? We
Yeah.
need to see if this is not just a situation where, it's just your name. Because as you mentioned, it's both Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has star power and he's proved it. And then you got Devontae Davis, right? Where these numbers specifically just blow all his previous numbers out the water, right? So there's clearly something going on there. It's who your dance partner is, right? And I think Canelo has done more with less, right? It's the argument between Michael Jordan and LeBron, doing more with less compared with LeBron.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And I think Tank definitely has to, show us, which he says that he wants to do so. And hopefully we get great fights. So
Yeah. A quick thing. I kind of want to I got something coming up after this Ryan thing, but like in terms of a letter grade, like imagine you were in school, what do you rate Ryan? Like what would you score him as a fighter, right? And then obviously take everything into perspective. Don't just say he looked this way against Tank, but like what letter grade would you give Ryan as a fighter?
Okay, this is a good question, and there are nuances when it comes to this, right? So let's say we're starting, you have a letter grade, and what's the rubric? Is A the
F
highest?
is the worst, and let's say A plus
A
is the best.
A+ is the best. Okay, so we're using A+, A-, A. I would consider Tank A+ fighter. I would say Shakur probably A+ fighter. Devin A+ fighter. Loma A+ fighter, even though he may it's an argument there that he may be declining. And I'll probably say Ryan is probably a tier below that. I'll probably say Ryan is like an A fighter, maybe an A- fighter.
Okay.
Right. That's where I would probably have him, only because the fight with Tank Davis really showed me that Tank IQ wise and skill wise was far superior
Right.
to Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
And when we look back at Ryan Garcia's resume, his best win was against Luke Campbell, who Luke Campbell never won a world title. He's just known for his Olympic pedigree.
Right.
So I don't know. I think he's not a trash fighter, right? But I will probably
By no
I'm
means.
leaning towards probably like an A-. What
Okay.
about you?
Okay. So me, I will go A minus, B plus, but maybe A minus, and I say it because I agree on the scale that Tank's an A plus fighter, right? And sometimes when you have A plus and A minus, even though you hear the A, that's still a big difference, right? That's probably we're talking about, to use a basketball reference because you brought up basketball earlier. That's probably LeBron on the Heat, Paul George on the Pacers.
Right.
Excellent players, but there's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I asked you the question is I was actually watching the Portaway podcast, and it was Sean. I forgot his co-host's name, the one that stayed on
The
stay.
dark skin one with the hat. Yeah.
Yeah. So any which way, and then they had a special guest, and one of them gave Ryan like a B plus, but the other two gave him a B minus. And I'm like, Ryan's not a B minus fighter.
Yeah, he's not a
Like
big.
I disagree with that. He'll beat most people at 135, but it's just like that upper echelon that I think can defeat him. But I don't think that makes him a B minus fighter. I thought, you know, of course there were gaps between him and Tank, but I don't think he's a B minus fighter. But that's why I asked you that.
Okay. Yeah, that's excessive. That's
Yeah.
they're a little bit harsh there. I don't think they really. They'll have to sit in front of me and list out who fills in those, and then you'll quickly find out that Ryan is not a B- fighter.
Yeah.